The lights of the Ed Sullivan Theater glowed with their usual late-night warmth, the audience buzzing with anticipation. Stephen Colbert, in his crisp navy suit, stood backstage, reviewing his notes for the evening's guest, the legendary Clint Eastwood. At 95, Eastwood was still a towering figure in Hollywood. His latest directorial project, a gritty war drama called Last Stand at Dawn, generating Oscar buzz. Colbert, ever the quick-witted host, had prepared a mix of respectful questions about Eastwood's career and a few playful jabs to keep the vibe light. After all, this was The Late Show, where charm and humor were the currency. The audience roared as Colbert took the stage, his monologue sharp and topical, skewering the latest political gaffes and pop culture absurdities. "And tonight, folks," he grinned, "we've got a man who needs no introduction, but I'm gonna give him one anyway. Clint Eastwood." The crowd erupted. The band struck up a jazzy rendition of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly theme, and Eastwood strode out, his trademark squint intact, though softened by age. He wore a simple gray blazer, jeans, and boots, looking every bit the cowboy icon. The handshake was firm, the smiles genuine, but there was a glint in Eastwood's eye that suggested he wasn't here for fluff. Colbert started strong, asking about Last Stand at Dawn. "Clint, this film, it's raw, it's powerful. What drew you to this story at this point in your career?" Eastwood leaned back, his voice gravelly but steady. "It's about sacrifice, Stephen. Men and women who put everything on the line. I wanted to tell a story that doesn't pull punches, doesn't sugarcoat the cost of war." The audience nodded, captivated by his intensity. Colbert, sensing the mood, pivoted to lighter fare. "Now, Clint, you've been in the game for decades. Ever think about slowing down, maybe directing a rom-com?" The crowd chuckled, but Eastwood's smile tightened. "Rom-coms?" he said, raising an eyebrow. "I'd rather shoot a blank than direct one." The audience laughed, but there was an edge to his tone. Colbert, ever the professional, pressed on, pulling out a prop, a toy cowboy hat. "I thought we'd have some fun tonight," he said, plopping the hat on his head. "What do you say, Clint? Want a duel at high noon?" The crowd roared, but Eastwood's face darkened. "I didn't come here to play dress-up, Stephen," he said, his voice low. Colbert, sensing a misstep, tried to recover. "Fair enough. Let's talk about your early days. Rawhide, Dirty Harry. You've always been the tough guy. Ever get tired of that label?" Eastwood leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Labels are for people who don't understand the work. I tell stories. You want to talk tough? Let's talk about what's real. Courage, loss, the things people don't want to face." The audience was quiet now, the air thick with tension. Colbert, caught off guard, nodded. "Absolutely, let's dive into that." But the stage was set for a collision neither man saw coming. As the interview progressed, Colbert tried to steer the conversation back to safer waters, asking about Eastwood's process as a director. "You're known for being fast on set. 1 or 2 takes, right? What's the secret to getting it right so quickly?" Eastwood's response was measured but pointed. "Trust your people. Trust your gut. Most folks overthink it, waste time chasing perfection. Life ain't perfect. Neither's art." The audience clapped, appreciating the wisdom, but Colbert saw an opening for humor. "So, you're saying you're the fastest draw in Hollywood?" he quipped, mimicking a gunslinger's pose. The crowd laughed, but Eastwood's jaw tightened. "You keep going for the jokes, Stephen. I'm here to talk about something real." Colbert, sensing the mood but committed to his show's playful tone, doubled down. "Oh, come on, Clint. You're an icon. We've got to have a little fun. Let's do a quick game. Clint or myth? I'll read a statement, you tell me. If it's true." The audience cheered, but Eastwood's expression was unreadable. "I didn't sign up for games," he said, his voice like gravel. Colbert, undeterred, pressed on. "First one? Did you really punch a horse while filming The Outlaw Josie Wales? The crowd gasped, then laughed, expecting Eastwood to play along. Instead, he leaned forward, his eyes locked on Colbert. That's the kind of nonsense people spread when they've got nothing real to say. I don't punch animals, Stephen. I tell stories about people, not gossip. The audience's laughter faded into murmurs. Colbert, visibly rattled but still smiling, tried to pivot. Okay, let's get serious. Your new film, it's got some heavy themes. War, loss, morality. What's the message you want people to take away? Eastwood's response was sharp. The message? War's hell. People die. Heroes aren't what you think. They're just folks trying to survive. You don't need a game show to figure that out. The crowd was silent now, hanging on his every word. Colbert, sensing the interview slipping, tried to lighten the mood again. Absolutely powerful stuff. But let's switch gears. Any chance? We'll see you in front of the camera again, maybe as a grizzled detective? He flashed a grin, but Eastwood wasn't having it. You don't listen, do you? He said, his voice low and dangerous. I'm not here to play your clown. The tension was palpable now, the audience shifting uncomfortably. Colbert, realizing he'd pushed too far, tried to backtrack. No clowning here, Clint. Just trying to give the fans what they love, you, the legend. But Eastwood wasn't buying it. Fans don't need me to be a caricature. They want truth. You keep dodging it with your jokes. The crowd was split. Some clapped for Eastwood's conviction. Others waited for Colbert to regain control. The host, sweat beading on his brow, signaled for a commercial break. We'll be right back with more from Clint Eastwood, he said, his voice strained. As the cameras cut, Eastwood leaned back, arms crossed, staring daggers at the stage floor. The altercation was brewing, and the night was far from over. The commercial break did little to cool the tension. Backstage, producers whispered frantically, urging Colbert to pivot to safer topics. But Colbert, a seasoned host, wasn't one to shy away from a challenge. He wanted to salvage the interview, to find common ground with Eastwood. As the show resumed, the audience clapped politely, but the energy in the room was electric, like the calm before a storm. Colbert leaned forward, his tone earnest. Clint, let's talk about what matters to you. Last Stand at Dawn. It's a film about sacrifice, about the human cost of war. What do you hope it does for audiences? Eastwood nodded, seeming to soften. I want people to think. Not just feel good, not just cry, but think about what it means to lose something, someone for a cause. War's not a movie set. It's real. It's ugly. His words were heavy, and the audience leaned in, captivated. Colbert saw an opening. That's powerful. And you've always had this ability to cut through the noise, to tell stories that hit hard. Is that why you've stayed in the game so long? Eastwood's eyes flickered with something like approval. Maybe. I don't do it for awards or headlines. I do it because there's still stories worth telling. For a moment it seemed the interview was back on track. But Colbert, perhaps too eager to keep the momentum, made a fatal misstep. You know, Clint, your films have always had this moral clarity. Good guys, bad guys. But today, things are messier. Social media, politics, cancel culture. How do you navigate that as a filmmaker? The question was meant to be thoughtful, but Eastwood's face darkened. Cancel culture? He growled. That's just a fancy term for people too scared to face the truth. You say something real and they come for you. I've been saying what I think for 60 years. Ain't stopping now. The audience gasped, some clapping, others murmuring. Colbert, sensing a hot-button topic, tried to steer it lightly. Well, you've never been one to hold back, but let's talk about the fans. They love you for it. Any message for them? Eastwood wasn't done. The fans? They're smarter than you give them credit for. They don't need your Twitter wars or your hashtags. They want stories, not sermons. Colbert, caught off guard, laughed nervously. Hey, I'm just a guy asking questions. But speaking of Twitter, sorry, X, there's a meme going around of you as Dirty Harry in 2025. Want to see it? He held up his phone, showing a photoshopped image of Eastwood with a futuristic gun. That was the breaking point. Eastwood stood, his chair scraping loudly. I didn't come here to be a meme, Stephen, he said, his voice like thunder. You want to talk about my work? Fine. But this is a circus. The audience gasped, and Colbert's smile faltered. Clint, come on, it's just fun. He started, but Eastwood cut him off. Fun? You think war's fun? You think telling stories people need to hear is fun? I'm done. With that, he ripped off his mic and stormed off the stage, his boots echoing in the stunned silence. The crowd erupted in a mix of cheers and boos, and Colbert, wide-eyed, signaled for another commercial. We'll be right back, he stammered as the band played a frantic tune. The studio was chaos as the cameras cut to commercial. Producers scrambled, shouting into headsets, while Colbert sat frozen at his desk, processing what had just happened. The audience was buzzing, some chanting, "Clint, Clint," while others debated whether Colbert had gone too far. Backstage, Eastwood was already gone, his team ushering him out a side exit into a waiting car. The internet was alight within minutes, X posts exploding with hashtags like "Shot Eastwood Walks" and "Shot Colbert Clash." Clips of the altercation went viral, with fans and critics picking sides. Some called Eastwood a curmudgeon who couldn't take a joke. Others praised him for standing up to what they saw as Colbert's flippant tone. Colbert, ever the professional, returned after the break with a sheepish grin. Well, folks, that was unexpected, he said, earning a laugh. Clint Eastwood, everybody. A legend who keeps it real. Let's give him a round of applause. The audience complied, though the energy was conflicted. Colbert moved on to his next segment, a comedy bit with a musical guest, but the night's spark was gone. Backstage, he confided to a producer, I thought he'd play along. I misread him. The producer shrugged. It's Clint Eastwood. He doesn't play. In the days that followed, the incident dominated headlines. Talk shows dissected the clash, with some hosts defending Colbert's light-hearted approach and others arguing Eastwood was right to call out the trivialization of his work. Last Stand at Dawn saw a surge in interest, with ticket pre-sales spiking as fans rallied behind Eastwood's unapologetic stance. On X, Eastwood posted a single line. Made a movie about truth. Guess some folks aren't ready for it. The post garnered millions of likes, fueling the fire. Colbert, for his part, addressed the incident on the next night's show. Look, I'm a fan of Clint's, he said, his tone sincere. I wanted to have fun, but I respect his passion. If you're watching Clint, come back anytime. No cowboy hats, I promise. The audience laughed, but the apology didn't quell the online storm. Some fans forgave Colbert, seeing it as a misstep. Others felt he disrespected a legend. Eastwood, true to form, stayed silent, letting his work speak. Months later, at the Oscars, Last Stand at Dawn won Best Director, and Eastwood's acceptance speech was vintage Clint. Short, blunt, and unapologetic. This is for the stories that matter, he said, holding the statue. Not the noise. The crowd roared, and somewhere, Colbert watched, a wry smile on his face. The altercation had become a footnote in Eastwood's storied career, but it was a reminder. Legends don't bend, and truth doesn't play for laughs.